So that was a super chill intro by the Dealey Stands. Yeah. Those guys are, just really chill, really relaxed. But, you definitely want to let them know when you have other friends coming with you.
Oh, yeah. They'll get all weird.
They're from Jersey.
Yeah, up there. You go on in the Pine Barrens there.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know about Jersey. They got Pine Barrens and a
behind the tree.
Ooh.
Well, actually, under the boardwalk. I learned that only recently. It was after watching that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they go to Jersey and they were like under the boardwalk. And then I watched another show, which was Steve Buscemi, Boardwalk Empire. That's set in Jersey.
That's where the big boardwalk is. What's it called? What's that beach? There's that one place. Something town.
I don't know.
Atlantic City. Ooh, that's
Atlantic City. There you go. Yeah, that is it. That's where that show takes place.
Yeah.
And it used to be a big deal. And I think when we were born and raised, like somebody says Atlantic City, you're like, what's that?
Could you be more Pacific?
No, because it's really close to the Atlantic.
Okay. I think that's like the biggest pastime in Philly is to go to Jersey. From what I can tell.
Probably true.
Get on the number 10.
A better pastime if you live in Jersey is just, how do I get out of here?
Yeah, that seems to be the thing. If you're not like in Atlantic City, it's like, what are you doing?
And if you're in Atlantic City, what the fuck are you doing? Who would want to live there? And I'm only repeating things I've heard in media, so maybe it's a bunch of fake news. If one of our listeners is from Jersey, I would love for you to write in at fakoshka@gmail.com and tell us what you think about Jersey and why we should love it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, the guy that recorded our first album definitely kind of tainted the Jersey name. He was always railing on Jersey, and I was like, what are you talking about?
He is a New Yorker, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's something going on there. I think they really love each other and they want to fuck, but they never worked it out. So they're just like, just hate staring at each other.
Sitting there touching borders, I think. Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jersey is super close to New York City.
There you go.
But once again, you'd be like, you fucking moron, this ain't that close. It's way closer to Boston.
We don't sound nothing alike.
Yeah. I don't know how any of that shit works over there, and I want to go visit. So our last episode, I started a thing where, I could take like a tiny little clip of our show, like a 10-second one, 20-second one, and then put our cover on it and put it on our Instagram.
Oh.
So I was like looking for a good little chunk of the podcast, and not to say that it isn't good, but anytime I jumped around in it, it was like, and then that's the other thing about campaign finance reform. And I was just like, man, this sounds like we're just doing something like super political. And
well,
I ain't gonna lie, like that's a huge thing I pay attention to. So that's gonna always come up in this show. So might as well get used to it to a degree. But I think the intention of the show is to be a lot more casual than that. It's just there's a lot of tensions from the election, at least for me.
Indeed.
And apparently, it's not over. So the tension continues.
Yeah, but I mean, it's over. We'll do something if
It
it doesn't
feels
end up
like
being
Trump
over.
was a cyst, and we finally managed to lance it. And so all that pussy goo is just coming out, but it's like a fuck ton of it.
Yeah.
So we're just like pressing, and it kind of hurts. Like you're watching Giuliani and his goblins like at their press conference today, and he's like melting. And it's just like,
That was
what
weird.
the fuck is going on? Like, and I wish I could remember who it was on Twitter, but they pointed out that Giuliani, like almost a month ago, had the Borat thing come up. Then he had the press conference in front of Four Seasons Lawn
Lawn.
and Gardening.
God.
And then now he's melting today. It's like, man, this guy's had a fucking stretch.
Yeah.
He's just like, this king, that's how he put it. He's like, this king has had quite the stretch.
Don't
It
let
is
me
this
go out there,
king.
boss.
It's just like, yeah, holy shit. Like, I've never, and he was a major Republican candidate in, I think, 2008,
Yeah.
because he was America's mayor because of 9/11.
Yep.
And he seemed reasonably decent around then. Like, yeah, he was that guy, like with the bullhorn with Bush, 2001, trying to bring us together. Whatever. I still don't like him, but yeah. And then I just look at this last month of him, and I'm just like, holy shit!
God damn.
It's like a racist Count Chocula,
Indeed. This is an evil old dude.
evil, melty, racist Count Chocula.
Yeah, the chocolate was melting out of him. Could see it under the stage lights. I don't know what that was.
And I mean, I don't even want to address the other three, but I guess why I'm kind of starting with that is a huge component of our last episode was like, how do we reach out and extend the olive branch, and where can we see eye to eye? I'll tell you one thing. Just admit that Trump fucking lost.
Yeah,
And
because
then I'll start being a lot more listening and agreeable with you. But until that happens, like, this is just fucked up Banana Republic shit.
well, yeah, it's decided. Like, well, far and away he won. No evidence of fraud. Just, it's over.
Well, and we could go down the list of like, oh, he's only searching for fraud in the states in which he lost.
Yeah.
It's just like, wouldn't you want to check for fraud everywhere? And then you start going down that thing, and then it's just Giuliani making faces and melting in your brain, and you're like, ah.
Yep.
So I pulled up a random list. So forgive me if the source is not great. It's globalcitizen.org. Have you ever heard of that site?
I have not.
Neither have I. They seem pretty bland and straightforward, which is always a good sign for news sites.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and read the top 6 positive things that came from the 2020 election season. And let's just see if we agree.
Sounds good.
And before I start, let me also explain to our audience. I had what felt like 5 ulcers going on in my stomach during the election.
No fun.
And yeah, I don't know. I was fucked up. I feel like stress definitely led to it, but it was probably already something that was on the way. And I'm just like, fuck. And I feel like I'm barely now getting my stomach back to normal.
Oh man.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe it's just one of those crazy fucking things. And especially in the age of like COVID and stuff, you're like, is stomach like a thing with it? And like, not from what I could tell. And you're also like, oh, if I have something I could remedy and just moan about at home, like I don't need to be taking up any doctor's time or space right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to do with this episode, I know this is kind of a long-winded way to get here, but there's a concept I heard about on a radio show I listened to, Opie and Anthony back in the day, and I remember them once saying like when Anthony and Patrice O'Neill were being hilarious, they'd be like Opie, the showrunner, would just be like, "This is pot talk. They were just talking like a bunch of potheads," and that always like stuck out to me because I was like, those are some of my favorite shows. Just kind of stream of consciousness and like not just shutting down the other guys, just like let stuff come up and questions and you know what? Yeah, why is the sky blue? Little things like that. It's all right to ask the questions we feel like we've already answered sometimes.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
those that are listening, we're gonna get into some beer in a little bit, but like feel free to like crack open a beer. I'm gonna do 10 milligrams of gummy edible,
Woo.
which for me is quite a bit. Um, Usually I'm like 2.5 and got a tiny buzz, can sip coffee and do some like typing.
Mm-hmm.
5, read a book, no typing, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So actually, how about we do this? I'll even rip the gummy in half. We'll start with 5. Because I am in Colorado.
Legal.
Yeah. And before we start this list, um, I was still trying to look it up. I don't know if you found it, but what states legalized pot this last election?
See, I didn't find the list yet, but let's see. I know Oregon, like, made
Well,
everything. Just everything.
we'll,
All the
we'll,
things.
we'll get to Oregon in a minute here. But I couldn't necessarily find the list. Maybe that's, some show prep, but that ain't necessarily pot talk now, is it?
Nope.
But I looked up this image. It's marijuana laws in the U.S. And they have a degree of fully legal to light green, decriminalized, darker green medical, darker green medical and decriminalized, and then like forest green is legalized. So
Mm-hmm.
basically the whole West Coast, including Alaska, is fully legalized.
Yeah, I
That
remember that.
includes Colorado, where I live. And then over in the other area, you got Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Michigan. Now, that's not a bunch, but when you start adding in all those other ones, the
Yeah.
only I want to see if I can do this. Looking at the map, you could look at it too and help me out. Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska,
South Dakota.
South Dakota, Kansas, Texas, Wisconsin, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. It's fully illegal.
Yeah.
I hope you kept up with me on that. I tried to pace it. Everything else, it's decriminalized, medical, or legalized. That's more popular than Biden or Trump.
Yep. That's
So
one
all
big
I'm
truth.
saying, I'm gonna enjoy this 5 milligrams, but I was a way bigger pothead when I was younger and lived in Utah, and it was fully illegal when I was younger. But I'd find it and I'd smoke it anyways. The war on drugs didn't do shit to it.
Nope.
And now that it's available, I'm like, I kind of like drinking a little bit more. Like,
Yeah.
it is so non addictive.
Not at
Like,
all.
I'm sure it's habit forming for some because, hey, I like to feel good every day. But in general, it's like, yeah. And nowadays, it comes in all kinds of forms like
There's,
gummy
yeah,
that I just ripped in half. I'm like, that's all I need.
there's zero downsides. So if you are gonna, form a habit, that's not a bad one to form, really.
Well, and somebody would say, well, what about getting behind the wheel of a car? You know when you're able to and when you're not able to.
I
Alcohol, you don't as much.
oh
And
yeah.
all I would say, if you're under the influence of anything that includes like not enough sleep, you shouldn't be driving.
Oh yeah, that's worse. I know most people drive worse than like potheads drive. Like old
Yeah.
ladies, yeah, tired people. It's just yeah. That's a ridiculous
Don't
argument.
be an old lady and tired, all right?
Oh
Or
yeah,
just
that's a
smoke
double
a bunch of
whammy.
pot and then you're like, it's the holy trilogy. You have to let her go
Oh
now.
god. She's just like flying above the roadway, just flying over all the cars.
Cam, Cam! She's like, ah. Well, and I mean, this is Pot Talk Radio, but this isn't just Pot Talk. I just wanted to introduce the concept, and I felt like this week needed kind of a downshift from last week. I think we did a good job keeping it balanced and trying to like not let our feelings about stuff go one way or the other too much. But it's still stressful, intense, and there's still kind of a question of like, how could that many people vote for a guy like that? I still wonder.
Yep.
I don't quite get it, and I'm not interested in getting it, which I guess is the difficult part. I'm so beyond like hearing anything positive about such a negative guy.
Yeah, there isn't anything there. That's what we're trying to do is how do we convince how do we get the message across to other people because they're only doing it because of the line.
Well, it's
If they
like,
opened their eyes, they would not be supporting that guy. It's just like they're stuck on the party line.
well, yeah. So it's like we don't even like Biden. I wouldn't say I have a distaste for the guy, but well, no, I do. But
See,
it's
I
like I don't. It doesn't freak me out that he's president. I guess it's kind of more back to kind of a sleazy guy.
yeah, it's just I don't know exactly what he's done that makes him like super horrible like everybody thinks, but it's like yeah, it's not my first choice, but none of these people are.
Yeah, and it's always about trying to keep that in check and get better and improve. And obviously, that goes in different directions for people. So
Mhm.
that being said, I guess what we're requesting is, all right, Trump is obviously a terrible, terrible human being. You're never gonna get us to vote for him. We're not that thrilled about Biden. What is your solution?
Yeah, get another candidate out there that's not a crazy moron.
And that's all I request. Find another candidate. And not Trump Jr. or Ivanka. Like, you're just going to perpetuate the shit we've already been dealing with the last 4 years.
Yeah, nobody wants to say that name anymore.
No. And you know what? If you're not totally sure, register as a Democrat and then vote for somebody you like. It's that. It's possible.
That is a
I
thing.
think, who was the guy that ran with Gary Johnson in 2016? He was his vice presidential candidate.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
Hmm. Weld.
Oh,
What is his full name? I think he's the governor of New Mexico.
no.
Bill Weld, I think. Correct me and write us if I am wrong, but I'm not going to hold up the podcast. But yeah, he's a libertarian guy. I know most people have kind of a distaste for libertarians on certain levels, but honestly, you give me Biden, Bill Weld, or Trump, I'm probably Weld. You
Yeah,
give me Bernie Sanders, Biden, Weld, or Trump, I go Sanders, Weld, Biden, Trump. And that's why we need preferential voting.
yeah. I wouldn't even. I'd do a write-in instead of Trump.
Yeah. My penis, Trump.
Anything. Just like
Yeah,
anything that like breathes that's not isn't named Trump.
and believe me, for as much as it seems like I would agree with my penis, we argue all the time.
Yeah,
We do not see eye to eye.
same party.
Yeah.
You got the old libertarian dick.
Well, my dick, she's really feminist, so
Oh,
she probably is a little more progressive than I am. I'm a little
or
more like, no, no, what about taxes?
so a neo-libercrat.
Communist, anarchist, neoliberat.
Oh wow.
And not liberocrat, librocat.
Yeah, everything's a cat these days.
Yeah. So anyway, wow, we kind of danced around there for a minute, but that's kind of the premise. The 6 positive things that came from the 2020 election season. You ready?
I did check out the site, and they are rated highly factual. Although they do have a liberal bias, their reporting is true,
Just like
factual.
facts.
They have
Oh,
sources.
this is good. So globalcitizen.org kind of checks out, sort of.
Yep.
We can get into that whole fake news shit if you want, but I heard the point today. I was doing a lot of painting recently because I do pet portraits for the holidays.
Yeah.
And so a lot of podcast consumption. And somebody pointed out, I think it was Tom Segura on his Tom Talks podcast. I think that's what it was. He's pointing out, he's just like, well, you get all your news from Fox News. And it's just like, well, where do you get your shit from, man? Like, most people kind of go to one spot, but everything has some sort of bias to it. It's like all you can do is just try to do at least 4 or 5 on one story if you got the time.
Yeah.
And you can start to get used to the language of it all. You can read the headline from 5 different sources and kind of piece it together and realize, like, I don't really give a shit about this story.
Yeah.
I'll wait until it matters more. Well, you can kind of piece it together. Like, just take the headline from 5 different sources that disagree from each other, and you'll kind of figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, it's the burden is on you to go find all that stuff. You have to find the reputable sources and compare and see. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we all have to start doing. And that's because the news is not fake. It's just you're looking in the wrong spot. And most of the time you're being lied to about like what the other side believes. That's one thing
Mm-hmm.
that's like the biggest fake news of all is like the the Democrats are trying to do this to you. So that's why you should just totally hate them and don't give them any leeway. And then our side basically does the same thing. I say our side because we're probably closer, more left leaning, but
I
I
would say
wouldn't say
so.
I'm all the way over on Democrat.
I won't try to bullshit like I think it's all equal. I
Yeah,
definitely agree with one end of it more, but yeah.
yeah, and I think the extremes are the problem, and that's what's like pulling everybody. And yeah, it's a tough time. Everybody needs to just start digging in when you see something like, okay, well, why am I seeing this? Who wrote it? I've said this
Well,
all before,
yeah.
but yeah,
You know what it is it's like I look at the ridiculous extremes on the left and I find it more obnoxious and it has potential to be dangerous.
yep,
And then I look at shit on the right and I'm like, that's dangerous
like
and
straight up
has so
already.
much potential to be ridiculous.
Yep,
And so, but that's probably what's happening over on their end. They're like, you know what? Some of these Proud Boys, they're ridiculous with this stuff, but that Antifa socialist atheist stuff, that's dangerous.
yeah.
And so when you hear that, you're like, how is that dangerous to you? Like, how are you perceiving danger?
Yeah, what do you think they're gonna do? Do you
And
know what
so
Antifa means yet?
I think there is the area where people could start reaching across and be like, why are you freaked out about this?
You know,
Like, just
Antifa
like really
means
try to figure it out, and then just if you feel like you truly can, like try to calm them down and soothe them. Like, you're gonna be all right.
like
But
we don't want your God, we don't want your guns, and we don't
I
want
do want to
fascism.
be rid of your God, and
Exactly.
I It would be nice if I don't have a gun pointed at me, but that's never happened.
We
So
ran away from England's God. That's why this whole country's here. Like, that's the whole point
yeah,
is to you can worship whatever one you want.
well, yeah, and I mean that's one of those things where I'm sure they got a list of them, but if you're gonna be like the small government, get government out of my life, then how about enough of this God business?
Yeah, don't put prayer back in school while you're at it. That doesn't which is
But
not it's not gone from school is also why we're on that point. Like
yeah,
teacher-led prayer should stay right where it's at out of school.
what about the locker room? Right before the big game.
Yeah, coach shouldn't do it. He can join, but if the
Yeah, I don't
players
give a
want to
shit
do
if
it,
the
do it.
team decides they want to do it. And you know what? I do think like the atheist guy on the team should grow a thicker skin and be like, this is silly bullshit. All right, Tommy, let's
Exactly.
pray. It's just like doesn't
Let
hurt you.
let him do just one game. Let him do the prayer.
Yeah,
Ooga booga, great sky god.
yeah, but you get to ooga booga Great Sky God at him at the after party of the game
Yep.
while he's trying to hit on the nice churchy girl. You just ruin it for him.
Walk up and quote a Bible verse and take
Yeah.
her.
Didn't Corinthians say that you shouldn't be doing this right now? He's like, shut up.
Back off. The
Dude, go get
Necronomicon
yourself
said.
a Mountain Dew and get out of here. We grew up in Utah. That's what chalks are like.
Yeah, you remember playing Dupong?
I'm sure some of them drank. I guess I can't speak to their world.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I guess that's what we're talking about. We got to build bridges. Trump has burnt every single thing connected to him. He's a
Yeah.
raging narcissist. And he has to go.
Indeed.
So no sympathy. Anyways, the 6 positive things that came from the 2020 election. You ready?
I'm so ready.
All right. 1. Massive early voting turnout shows that Americans care.
Yeah. Just like they did for Bernie. Huh. Sorry. We can keep going. We don't have to go down that train.
I'm really trying to like ponder these. I have my little shitty take on this. If you'll indulge me, tell me if you disagree. Do you really want massive early voting turnout in an election between Biden and Trump? Like, why was it these guys that got record numbers of voting? And I know
Yeah.
it's like we all jumped on our ideology trains and just like, let's go.
Riding with Biden.
But it's just like these guys get the most votes in American history.
Now,
You're like, there's something kind of depressing about
now,
that.
correct me if I'm wrong. Has that not been going up? Like,
Well, I think, bro,
isn't that just like
it's
every year that gets set again, or is that wrong?
if you wanted to look that up while I'm going into number 2, but I believe there was a major one. I think it was like around. It had been almost 100 years since the most, and I feel it was like I don't want to say it was FDR, but maybe it was right after him. Was that Woodrow Wilson that followed FDR?
I can't remember.
Or it might not even been that. It might have been right before FDR. I think it was like 1920s, 1930s, something like that, which would make sense to 100 years or something. And that was the most. And then it's the amount of people that voted steadily went down. And so, yeah, you should definitely type that up, actually. Let's see if you could find who was
It pretty.
the most votes in American history.
It was Biden. He's the new record.
He's a new one.
But
Who's
before
right
that was
before?
Obama.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
That's as far as I know. I can't find a good graph to show me more. Sorry. There's so many
That's
graphs.
fine.
So,
Do you have the
well,
same article up?
No, I didn't go find that one yet. But
All right. We're going to find that before the end of the podcast. Number 2, young people registered to vote in record numbers. That's a positive.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Even if, they didn't. They're just all voting with their young people emotions. I suppose it's a good thing.
I'll bet I haven't seen the percentages, but I'll bet a lot of them went Biden.
Mm-hmm. Which is something that Nancy Drew is always what I want to call him. What's his name? The senator. He's the southern. He's the Georgia peach.
The
But it's
conservative?
actually South Carolina. Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, yeah.
Yeah. What did I say? He reminds me of Nancy Drew.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah. I don't know something about him. I don't know what it is. But he was like, we have to question this election or else the Republicans never going to win another election. And it's like meant to freak everybody out. But I
Yeah.
remember that exact same horseshit said during Obama's administrations.
yeah.
Like, we have to fight this because we'll never get a Republican president again. You ran the worst person in history and got another Republican president.
Yeah, don't roll over on your back now.
It's like, you're probably fine. Just please get somebody more decent. Like, is it too much to
Please.
ask, like, somebody better than Reagan, George Bush Jr., and Trump? Notice how I left out Senior Bush?
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't so bad.
See, wasn't that long
I
ago
don't like him that much, but
compared to the
all
rest
right.
of those. Yeah.
I remember the Simpsons episode he did.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of likable of him.
I'm rewatching that. I'm excited to get to that one.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, he was a CIA director and all that stuff. That you don't trust that, then get a general like Eisenhower. Somebody a little more straightforward.
Yep. He's
You
one
do
of the
it.
top 3, man.
Gerald Ford, football player. He was a team guy. Made sure everybody got along. He's honorable. He's honest.
Yeah.
There's guys.
Yep.
Like, but Ford fell down a lot. Like, all right, but all that shit doesn't matter now.
Yeah. We got polio all taken care of. It's good.
Do you have that article up yet, or do I need to read?
Wait, which one am I looking for?
You're looking at 6 positive things that came from the 2020 election season. Global Citizen.
Do you want me to read one or what?
Yeah, like I'm gonna look up this popular vote thing.
Okay. I found it. We're on number 3.
Yep.
Okay. So nearly 200 nonprofits gave staff time off to vote. That's like required, isn't it? Or no, nonprofits don't have to, but everybody else does, don't they?
I don't know about that. I honestly can't say.
Yeah, that seems weird to mention just nonprofits, I guess. So cool, I guess. 6,000
It is
staff.
cool.
So
when I start hearing like corporations are letting people off to vote,
that's when you're really doing good.
Because there was Amazon workers that protested because Amazon wasn't letting them go do it.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of work in that realm. I told you my idea, right? For election day?
Party.
No, that's the day after. Even if you lose.
True.
It's almost like our national birthday, but it's every 4 years. We should make election day Halloween. It's not that far apart. We all get to dress up, so you're not worried about your neighbors seeing who you're voting for. As far as they're concerned, the devil was voting for Biden, which they probably already thought.
Yeah, that's right up their alley.
Yeah, or the sexy nurse, like, oh, she's into Trump. Interesting. You might actually go talk to her if you weren't inclined before. And then we could all dress up and go vote, and everybody. But I know Halloween doesn't get this, but you get the day off work. It's like, but you get 2 days in a row. You get the day to go vote, and then the next day to unwind. Like, that's barbecue day. Everybody has the makeup still smeared on their face, and they went and spent time with their family, almost like Thanksgiving, and they had a meal, and even though they disagree, they wake up the next day covered in makeup and filled with candy, and just like, all right, let's get the meal for tonight ready. No more candy, something like a little healthy. It's all about celebration and I'm gonna win and blah, into like, okay, we're all hungover together, eating something to recover together.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of that.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I think this last election would have been hilarious because they were selling like those little blow up, like Trump fat suits. There would have been like 100 Trumps voting for Biden. Would have been awesome.
Yeah. I could get into it. All right, so you're definitely right on this popular vote thing. Like, there's obviously some dudes in history that spike up through the ranks a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Like, let's see here. Richard Nixon.
Oh, great. Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ron, but yeah, it does go up with the population. And I'm not going to bother at this point. There probably is a difference of the amount of popular vote, but also what the percentage is of the population that went and voted. That would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be.
But that's a question. We'll maybe readdress it if we can remember for next week.
See, I think when I was looking for it, I did see one, and there was actually one way back in the day where it got pretty high, 1913, I think. Where
That's like probably what I'm talking about.
50%. So, yep.
Yeah, it's all economic distress. Everybody's was like after William McKinley or something. I get real muddy in that era, like after Civil War up to World War One.
Yeah,
I'm like, who are the presidents?
What happened then?
And you know what? I can't remember them, and that was some of the worst times in our country. So, maybe you do want to remember your guys just so it helps you. Like, yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want that again. Yep, I'm definitely fuzzy on many parts of American history, but some parts I know a lot better.
When I used to work at an after-school program, I made it a thing to learn the presidents with the kids, which some people thought was, that's a little weird. Like, why would you do that? They're like, not. I was like, it's because if you know the beginning and the end of this country, or at least the beginning to the present, you learn to start questioning things. You're like, wait a minute, like Ulysses S. Grant, wasn't he a general in the Civil War? They're like, yep. So he was probably pretty good, right? They're like, no, actually, he they liked him, but he ended up dying like poor and an alcoholic. And you're like, Jesus. Yeah. Like, and then when you learn little bits about these guys and that they're fallible and not gods, like the way some people talk about the founding fathers, like they're infallible, is absurd.
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
When it all started, it was a bunch of smart dudes getting together in a room with barrels of whiskey and just like, fuck this king shit. It's just like, it's so, like, American history is awesome, just like any history is. But when you learn it, it like gives you a whole new perspective on the whole thing, and you're like, oh, there's some ugly, nasty shit that went down, but that's actually a lot of interesting, cool shit too.
Yeah,
and it helps you question the present.
Indeed. I don't know why anybody would like question wanting to learn that. That's just a great thing.
I think people just hear politics or president, like words like that, they're triggering. And so they're just like, ugh. you know what? I don't care about either side. I just want to go live in a mountain. They're just like, all right, guess which one of those people are selling off those mountain rights?
Ooh. Yep.
I don't bother with that stuff. It's just like, you
It's
better believe anybody who seeks power that badly will find a way
oh yeah.
to
You don't
take the space where you've found to get away from it.
if you don't bother with it, they will.
It's my one of my favorite quotes of recent memory. Like it's old now, but if you don't turn on to politics, politics will turn on you.
Exactly.
And it's just like, just keep your eye on it. That's all I'm saying. You don't got to be passionate about it. Just pay attention. Know what you're voting for.
Yeah. With the whole popular vote thing, it feels like everybody's like Trump was elected. They're like, wait, what? Just kind of freaked out. They're like, oh, they're like, no way he's gonna win because I'm not gonna vote, but no way he's gonna win. And then it's like, oh shit, okay, I have to do it. So maybe for
Yeah.
the good next couple of elections, people will be on it.
Yeah, and people are great at forgetting shit. Where was Obama on 9/11?
Oh my, yeah.
Little things like that. You're like, that's I think one of many reasons why I get obsessed with like which Depeche Mode album is that? That's the fifth one. No, it's the fourth one. It was released first since 1983. Okay, like I like to know my dates and keep shit in order. I like to think about if I could, man. If I had one of those like Elon Musk memory chips, that's what I would do. I'd just become an encyclopedia.
Hell yeah.
Just know everything about each year as best I could. And obviously, I'm not going to go back so far that it's just like only so much of that is relevant now. Some of it's major, but like,
Yeah.
eh. But you know, you just really know your last 50 years. Like, this was invented that year, as well as this technology was developed, as well as this person came into power, this person was born. I love that shit.
Indeed. It's good, fun stuff to learn.
hmm I think it is fun. Some
Yeah.
people are probably listening to this now and they're just like, what the fuck are they
You
talking
think
about?
facts are fun?
Ugh. It sounds like that pizza lady that tried to get me to read, giving me a free slice for 5 states. Should get it for free.
Well, they're coming around.
Yeah. Are we on number 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Companies stepped up to help voters register and vote. Oh, so see, we
That's
might
a
have
nice
spoke
one.
too soon.
Whoa, Foot Locker coming in.
Yeah.
MVPs. Look at that. 2,000 U.S. stores into temporary voter registration sites. That's
Here's a
cool.
tiny thing we could talk about. It says the National Basketball Association, or the NBA, converted empty basketball stadiums into voting sites and used advertising slots to promote voter participation. I think that's fantastic, and sports should get more involved in things other than just sports. But that was one thing I remember reading over the last whole year. They're like, why does the NBA give a shit about Black Lives Matter and all this stuff?
Huh.
They're like, I wonder,
Wow.
maybe it's because most NBA players are African American. You think
Yeah,
they might
could be
give a
that.
shit?
Yeah, I think they do.
And it's just like, they're like, why don't you just stick to dribbling? Like, just, why don't you go fuck yourself, sir?
The whole idea that people are like, we pay you to play music or play sports, don't care about your opinion. It's like, why don't you just, everybody gets to say what they want, including you, unfortunately.
I pay you to do my taxes, Bob. Shut the fuck up.
For real. My favorite is what's his name? Tom Morello.
hmm
His response on Twitter. So
Yeah, man. No, it's amazing how many people on the right are like gigantic fans of Rage Against the Machine, apparently.
Oh yeah, that one video's interesting. A little rally.
Yeah. But do you remember Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House during Obama? He was going to be Mitt Romney's vice presidential nominee.
Yeah.
He was a Rage Against the Machine fan. He
Oh.
came out saying it like, I'm cool. Like, Obama's the new dictator and I'm Rage Against the Machine. And
Wow.
you're just like, oh. Zach De La Rocha would be so mad to
Oh.
stand anywhere near you.
Oh, for sure.
He'd just be like looking at him 5 seconds. Oh! It's just, what is that? He's like, he doesn't like you. Get out of here.
Leave.
It's like an angry parrot. Do what you told you. Wah! He's like, oh shit. You've angered him. I love Rage Against the Machine.
Me too.
That's one of my favorite vocalists, so it's all out of love. But he is an angry parrot.
A little bit.
Squawk!
All the people in those videos singing along loudly to the Rage Against the Machine, waving Trump flags. They're always like super out of time. Like it's like, are you listening to the song? Like you have no proof.
Dude, they're trying to go to 50 years ago. Of course they're out of time. These fucking backwards motherfuckers. All right, sorry, staying positive. Number 5. New generations filled in as poll workers to keep democracy running.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, people.
That is good. I got to stay positive. I'm a naturally pessimistic person, I think, to a degree.
That's way more than the nonprofit. The nonprofit was like 6,000 people. This is 37,000 people. That's actually like a noticeable amount. That's pretty cool.
That's good. I guess I'm just a little bummed with young people not coming out for Biden, or not Biden, Bernie harder. This whole primary section. And you know what? I'll be the first one to say, I'm not a giant Bernie bro. Maybe it was smart to run Biden rather than him. Maybe this country's too scared of the whole democratic socialist thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
And the whole goal was let's get rid of Trump. So, like, whatever. That being said, I think Bernie has a little more momentum and enthusiasm. And there's an element of, like, look, democratic socialism is not that bad. It's not what you think it is. Turn off your fucking TV and your uncle's Facebook page. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. Read.
It's just basically like Northern Europe. Not all of Europe. I know you think it's one country, but we're talking about Northern Europe.
Yeah.
Their happiness with life is just better, generally speaking. Why is that? And then I just invite you to research.
Exactly.
This one I feel like is not like the others, but maybe you can convince me. 6. Americans came together with a stronger sense of community.
Seems unquantifiable by any metric, but cool.
Yeah, it seemed like one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. But, it's true. People were like, we're getting out and voting and all happy, and it was a nice little party in some places.
I think I'd rephrase it to Americans cared more about their local communities. Yeah. I think they did care more about like the immediate stuff, which thus kind of leads to getting along with their neighbors and all that better. But I guess all I'm saying is I've never felt farther away from my neighbors. Like, I don't interact with them at all. And I think that is something to be concerned about. I mean, I'm an introvert, so I don't seek it out that much, but...
Yeah, I
don't
just
know.
have not been doing
Neighbors don't talk, really.
It's true. That's a more Mormon thing.
I don't know, man. I gotta push back a little bit on that, maybe. When I haven't lived in Utah, I felt like I interacted with my neighbors a little bit more.
But
I wouldn't say like in a always positive way. But it was like there was more back and forth and hey, how you doing? And hey, what the fuck? Like your thing landed in our yard. Like, it's all good. And just Utah's just kind of like go to the porch and look over, like, oh hi Diane, hi.
How are the kids?
Kids are good. Okay, dinner's on. Okay.
Go get Braxton and Claxton and
Braxton and Claxton and Truston and Luxton.
Yep, that's the way of it. Even up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay.
I interacted with, like I said, not always positive. But I wouldn't say it was like, I hate my neighbor. It was just like, no, yeah, it was just a lot more chit chatting and, hey, your cat was in our yard. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's great. We like him. It's just like, all right, well, or dude, there's this one time I was just renting a room up in this house in Seattle, and the storms from like 2019, I think,
Yeah.
like we're just shut the city down for like 2 weeks.
Over
So
an
like
inch of
snow
snow
everywhere. In Seattle, the thing is it's not like, oh, they don't know how to drive in snow, blah blah blah. It's that the humidity like ices up all the snow
Yeah.
and then a bunch of giant hills. So
And I don't know, just to be clear, I
yeah.
didn't know what a hill was until I went to Seattle.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay.
They put a sidewalk on this?
Yeah. It's absurd. And it's like, all right, well, Washington, San Francisco, it's super hilly. I just had no idea. So
Mm-hmm.
you mix like any snow with that, it fucks up the whole city. And until climate change came around, it was pretty damn rare. And now it seems like, oh, you'll get one of those storms every year.
Yep.
And I just remember like being stuck in the house and just trying to paint, and the heat was like off because it was like an oil heating system in the house, and it would run out, and I was just like, fuck.
Oh boy.
And we just get this. I get this ring on the door, which I don't get a lot. So I kind of go to the door, and it's the neighbor's like, "Hey man, I could borrow your shovel." It's like, you can borrow my shovel? Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Your landlord, Mrs. She said I could borrow the shovel. Oh, like you talked to her? I don't really talk to her even that much at all. She's like, no, I've just been here a long time. Like, I get to use the shovel when stuff like this happens. So it's like, okay. And he's like, I could do that, right? It's like, you told me you could do that. It was just the most awkward interaction.
Yeah,
but,
that's a weird way to open.
Yeah, but we chit chatted and I was like, yeah, no, man, this storm's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right, but I'm gonna use the shovel that she said I could use. Like, yeah, I know. It's good. Just go ahead. And he could have quite literally walked over, grabbed that thing, gone and shoveled his driveway, and not even told me.
Yep.
But it's just how it is.
Neighborly.
Mm-hmm. So that is the end of that list.
Yeah.
Anything else? Like, I guess we turned it into another politics episode, but I think this was way more positive.
Yeah, there was a bunch of other random shit in there too.
Sure.
No, I think it's a pretty good list. I think there's other good stuff that happened. You know,
There was a lot. I didn't want to do the we managed to elect our very first transsexual. Like, yeah, I know. That's great. Like, that should happen more and more, and that should happen every time. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just go down the list of patting ourselves on the back.
Yeah.
It should just be normalized. Like, yeah, of course, that's who you vote for. Just anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Just vote on what they say they're gonna do, like the values and things they hold. Like, you know, that'd be a
Mm-hmm.
good voting idea.
I agree. Well, what would you like to chit chat about?
I don't know. You feeling ready for like the weird news, or you
Let's do the
mentioned you had
beer
a tasty
talk.
beer? Oh yeah, let's do some beer talk. Well, I'm
Let
gonna
me know
go
when you
get a.
got. Yeah, you go get
I'm go.
yours. I'll get mine ready.
Why don't you break? Tell us about yours, and I'll go get mine.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we're doing here with the beer talk is that was something that'd come up, like talking about video games, shows, music, all this stuff, and I have a fair amount of friends that are like really into beers, and I am into them, but not in the way of where I know much about them. Like I'm into just getting a little tipsy, so I usually drink some gin and seltzer water. I'm good. I don't need much more than that. But that being said, my friends have knowledge in their brains about this brew and liquid, and I figure
Mm-hmm.
why not just inform the world about even more stuff? Because we have such amazing political opinions. That let's
The
jump into the
best.
beer world. So, do you have your drink ready?
I do.
How about we do like a little three, two, one snap?
Okay, mine's in a bottle.
Okay,
We'll see if it makes a noise.
3, 2, 1, snap.
Woo!
And I don't have to double up the snap. I don't have to say it when I do it.
You don't have to say the noise. The radio does that.
I know. It's just like, Jesus Christ. So what I'm sipping on today is a dyad. It is
Oh,
a sour ale from New Image Brewing. Funky, sour, and farmy.
does that one have the kombucha in it?
It does.
That is one of my favorite beers.
It is probably my favorite at the moment. I'm open to that changing, but I
That's
keep
how
coming back to it.
that's how favorite should be. They can hang out for a while. They can.
It's about $10.99 for a 6 pack here in Colorado.
Oh, worth every penny.
I'll read this real quick. A sour ale inspired by some of the unique characteristics of kombucha, blending flavors of black tea, and a complex profile of acid and fruit character from the yeast.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you tell us what you're sipping on, and then I had a couple questions for you about this diet.
Okay, I'm sipping on the Peach Made in the Shade from Ninkasi Brewing Company. That's their summer IPA. It's a peach IPA, 7.3%. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's about the same price for a 6 pack. So take
There
a
you go.
sip and delight in the refreshing tart notes of peach and grapefruit dancing freely on your tongue. That's the essence of summer bursting from the peach made in the shade. Crack one open, enjoy, and run wild. It is the best fruity IPA I've ever had. Like the peach flavor, it tastes like they just squeezed a fresh, delicious peach in there. Like it's like really good peach flavor and a really tasty IPA.
What was the name one more time?
Peach Maiden the Shade. But
Peach
Maiden
made in
is
the
like
shade. Like
Iron
the
Maiden.
ship?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Peach made in the shade. Now, I've always like I'm gonna get real basic here for a minute. We're not gonna drag this out. But a sour ale. I don't know exactly what that is. What's the difference between an ale and an IPA?
Well, IPA is an ale. IPA stands for
Okay.
India Pale Ale. Uh,
All right. Wait. Okay. We'll go back further. I think we were discussing beer once as a tree. So, what is like the trunk of every beer? Like, this is what makes it beer. And then, like, where it branches off. That's the thing I keep trying to visualize in my head.
well, all beer starts as uh, water, malt, and hops is like the main ingredients, and yeast. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so the different levels of each of those is what affects it, and how long you roast the malt. That's what, and what kind of malt. So rice is what, they use rice beers in Japan and China,
Mm-hmm.
and they do barley, do oat, all kinds of stuff, and they roast it for a really long time. It's a stout. If they just get it just black, and if they do it really
Mm-hmm.
lightly, it's more of like an ale. And pale ales usually have more hops. India pale ales have a ton of hops because they used to ship them. I cannot remember if it was to or from India. I think it was to, and so they
Mm-hmm.
were in, on the seas for so long they had to have a bunch of hops, which is a natural preservative.
There you go. What's more like a Kolsch?
That'd be like some really light grain and a particular kind of grain, I think. So lighter
Okay.
brown and let lot like not very many hops. That's like low hop amount, more on the grainy side.
Okay.
But
And
yeah.
then one last question: sour.
So the sour can come from the yeast, like that. I think the dyads. I think that's where theirs comes from, and they can also just put in other bacteria like Brettanomyces. Uh, so they
Mm-hmm.
did, a lot of the beers just call it Brett. Like I got a really tasty one from a Utah brewery that had a missionary, and it was called Brother Brett, and
Mm-hmm.
it was
It's
delightful.
like something something on Brett. I feel like I've heard that before.
A nightmare on Brett. Yeah,
Nightmare on Brett. Yeah, there we
that's the Crooked Stave one. I love that beer.
go. Okay.
So yeah, that's how the sours can come out a few different ways.
But it's mostly in the yeast, you said, and then like
The
adding
yeast, or you
stuff.
can add some other bacterias to them to make them a
Okay.
little funkier. Yeah,
I always wondered if it was like adding more fruit or something like that.
like the Brettanomyces is a yeast that occurs naturally, like in spoiled
Mm-hmm.
food, I believe. So you can actually, if you do a wild beer, like you just let the yeast that's flying around in the air just grow, it might
Mm-hmm.
have the Brettanomyces in it. So if you ever do a wild fermented beer, you could end up with like a Brett style beer without even meaning to.
There
But
you
you're
go.
kind of opening your world up to anything when you do that anyway. So
Mm-hmm. You
yeah,
once described a beer tasting like a gym sock or like
no, I've described the very beer you're drinking as a foot dipped in motor oil.
yeah. I was like, gee, what? But as like the gym sock thing, there was another one you were trying for a minute there, and you're like, that just tastes like a foot or like
Yep.
something like that.
Yeah, just a foot is another common one. But
I was like, what do you? And then I finally tried, and I was like, oh shit! Like it's not my favorite thing ever, but it is. It's that yeasty, mildewy something.
it gets in the back of your nose a little bit.
Yeah, but it's good
And that's a
because they
hop.
mixed it with other things. So it's like, yeah, it is. The Dyad itself, I think, is better than that beer, whatever that one was. I can't remember the name.
A few of them use it. It's a certain hop has that flavor as well. The
But
dyad
that's like the
has,
farmy. That's when they
yeah,
say it's farmy. That's kind of what I was like.
yeah. The dyad has been pretty farmy for me sometimes. It kind of goes with different batches, but which I love. So I'm not
Do you
complaining.
remember where New Image Brewing is?
Um, I
Is
don't.
that a Colorado one?
I believe so. I'll double check that right now. Yep,
And the peach
Arvada.
made. Sorry, say it again.
They're in Arvada. Is that it? Arvada?
I think you're trying to say Nevada. No, I actually am not doing very well learning my Colorado geography. I need to do better.
Oh, it's basically in Denver. It's like right there by Denver. It's a suburb of Denver.
Near Golden?
Yeah, in between Denver, downtown Denver, and Golden, just a little bit up, right below
Okay.
Westminster.
I feel a little better. Peach Made in the Shade. Where's that brewery company?
Ninkasi, I believe, is over Oregon, Eugene.
Okay.
So look out for their next one. It's called Crack Cocaine Pale Ale.
now, now, I think weird news. Let's just go for it. Oregon.
Legalized everything.
I mean, we had a weird news story about a Twinkie here and some other stuff, but yeah, we were on the election, kind of reviewing with my last 5 milligram, which won't even kick in by the time this podcast is over. Chew on that, and let's just discuss this Oregon legalizing everything. What do you think?
I am all for it. I think it's a great experiment to see if a lot of studies have said that it will lead to less usage of everything and be safer and less people overdosing. So let's see if it's actually true.
Now, is there any from the top of your head, like ways in which it assists that you can think of?
Which like I mean,
Like
just it being
actually
safe.
legalizing it, how
Well,
does it help reduce
look what happened to
use?
you. There is that effect with like,
There is that.
yeah, it just that is a thing for some reason. I do
True.
think, and that's the thing. I don't know if they didn't legalize. It was what decriminalized everything. So I think they'll still,
Right.
if you're doing
So if you do
bad things, they'll still
so,
cart you off. But it's
if I come up and punch you and then punch your car while I'm on something,
yeah,
I think you still have a worse sentence.
yeah. I think they're
Like,
still
because
taking
you
you
did
down.
something on the stuff. But if you're not on the stuff, well, if you are on the stuff and not doing anything illegal beyond that, yeah.
Yeah, like
But
I think decriminalized implies that it is still illegal and on the books. Just we're not gonna do anything.
if you're doing it in a park, we're getting you out of the park. I
Hopefully,
think, hopefully, but that's the thing is cops don't show up and get rid of them because it's decriminalized. It's not worth their effort. So
hmm
I guess the reason I asked you that question is because I definitely heard some things, but I'm by no means an expert. It's the so much of addiction is tied into um a feeling of like not enough, like an emptiness in oneself.
yeah,
And so there are chemicals that are way more addictive than others, no doubt about it. You stay away from meth and crack and heroin and all that stuff because just you're not going to come back most likely. At least not the way you were.
yeah,
And there's other ones though that it's just like the way George Carlin had to put in it once. It's they inform you of their own disuse.
ooh,
So what he meant by that is like if you smoke weed when you're a kid, you can do it. Once you get older, more responsibilities, bills, things to worry about, deadlines. You're like, I don't really feel like getting high so much. Like I got too much on my mind. Some people operate great with that. Other people are just like, nah, like I'm not getting high like I used to. I got shit I got to worry about.
yeah,
Alcohol is way worse than weed for that because you get home from work and you drink a little bit. Now I'm not thinking about it. I'm gonna eat whatever I want and have 3 or 4 more and feel like shit tomorrow.
yep,
And it's like all the other ones. So essentially, if you're on the street and you're addicted to a drug, and right now you have no option other than going to jail or stealing some shit. If you legalize the stuff and decriminalize it and you make homes where they can go and they're like, look, you can get your booze here, but you get one or you get 2 drinks a day, something like that.
yeah,
And the state
exactly.
pays for it. And they come down, they get 2 drinks, and you're like, what the fuck's going on there? The city's giving them beer for free on my dime. Like that's where they're freaking out. But these folks that get that leg up, that tiny leg up, and they get restricted and controlled, you only get 2 drinks. You don't get to have as many as you want. And as long as you follow that guideline, you can have a small room in this building. And a lot of people, when given that opportunity to get their shit back together, they get their shit back together.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like it's better than the alternative, no matter how you look at it. Like have to go into a clinic to pick up a bag of heroin or whatever, they'll hopefully have a bunch of signs and pamphlets everywhere and
Yeah.
groups to help people and psychologists. And that's not going to happen if you're buying it off some dude on the corner. He's going to be like, this shit's the best. Come get some more next week. Like, doesn't want you to stop.
Now, some people might hate me for this, but oh well, we don't have many listeners yet. It's a similar thing to abortion in the sense that there is a very negative way in which these things go down sometimes. I wouldn't say abortion is a positive thing. I don't think anybody feels like
No.
like yay about it. It's you essentially are making a hard, difficult decision, and it's way better that that happens around people that are therapists and that can help you. And I think it's a similar thing to addiction or a problem that you need to solve. You should have professional problem solvers around you rather than Shady Carl behind the building.
Exactly. That's exactly the same. It is very similar. And we also just it's too hard to define a good answer to that question. Like it's not a yes or no thing. So
Uh-huh.
we shouldn't have the government think it's a yes or no thing. We should be having it.
That being said, though, Oregon legalizing everything like that is probably very similar to how people felt when Trump won in 2016.
Yeah.
It was kind of one of those moments in an election where you're like, oh shit.
Yep. Here we go.
And I was like, I agree with it, but damn. There had to have been Trump supporters who were like surprised when he won that first time and they're like, what the fuck? We actually did that? Oh shit. Like
I was just kidding.
I was like, wow, fuck, okay, shit. New world. Obviously,
Oh,
ours is
yeah.
better, but you know.
Yep.
All right. I thought of one other thing before we tap out. You reading anything right now?
Man, I'm not right now. I need to get back into it.
Let me tell you what
What
I'm
about
reading.
you?
I'm gonna be a tiny little book club in the Jacob Wayne Show. I'm reading Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Kahneman.
Nice.
It is a winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics. I'll give you a one-sentence summary from the Googles. Thinking Fast and Slow shows you how two systems in your brain are constantly fighting over control of your behavior and actions, and teaches you the many ways in which this leads to errors in memory, judgment, and decisions, and what you can do about it.
Huh.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's
Well,
been a pretty great book.
that sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't. I can do the last book I read. I have it sitting here. It wasn't
All
that
right.
long ago. It was it's called Fire Season: Field Notes from a Wilderness Lookout by Philip Connors. And yeah, he lived in nearly half of each year he spent in a 7x7 fire lookout tower down in New Mexico. Very cool book, very interesting. Just kind of
Oh
goes all
yeah.
over the place, kind of wanders like your mind would wander if you lived alone in the mountains. Thinking about
Awesome.
stuff. It's a good book.
Well, this is a tiny little segment I'm going to keep bringing back up. So
Okay.
whatever we're currently reading, take like some highlights or notes, and we'll maybe recommend some of these things that we've been reading up on. Because if you're getting off social media and off of your mainstream media stuff, guess what's great? Books.
Indeed.
They're not infallible either, though. There's plenty of bullshit books out there. So they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
like the solution to everything either, but something about processing something yourself and going through the words yourself in a deep way where a monologue just isn't going to help you,
Yeah.
then you should be able to turn your own brain on and start picking some of it apart.
Yeah. I feel like just in general, the amount of books being read has been going down amongst a large chunk of our population. So it'd be nice to reverse that.
I think so. And I'll tell you what, I think one reason why it's better is when you get to the end of like a 500, 600 page book and you didn't like it, you're pissed at that book.
True.
You're like, fuck this book. And you like just, you keep it because you want to like think about it, but like, it's just fuck. And the thing about news media and all that other stuff, it's like these 2-minute, 5-minute, like, and they just put all this shit in your brain real quick, and then you're walking around.
Fuck.
And you're like, wait a minute. Like, I really, really hated that. It's like, but it's like, you don't think about it. When you're diving into a book, it really, I think, exercises that part of your brain that questions things.
Yeah.
And that's why I think most people haven't read the Bible.
Nope.
All right.
Not close enough.
Well, that was
and away we go.
Good Jacob Wayne show, I think.
I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, we'll be seeing you next week.
See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fakoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to the